Hello everyone, good morning, and I welcome you all to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So today is 26th of September and we are going to take up the analysis of Hindu newspaper. We are going to take up all articles which are relevant for our examination. And I would also like to tell you that you can download the explainer synoptic notes of this particular session from the Telegram channel. Link for Telegram is given in the description box in YouTube. Now, first of all, guys, before starting, let's take the overview of entire newspaper so that we can understand that which articles are actually important for the newspaper today. Now here we have Delhi edition on first page. We don't have much important articles which are relevant for examination. Okay, so here we have one article. Tibetans are seeking more autonomy, not separation from China, says Dalai Lama. So basically, guys, we see this particular thing that after 1959. Okay, just a minute. Okay, we see this particular thing that after 1959, Tibetans they came in India. Why? Because under the leadership of Dalai Lama, Tibetans have asked the autonomy from China. And since then, we have seen that Tibetans have been given the refuge in India, including the Dalai Lama on humanitarian compassion basis. Now, from time to time, guys, China provides this particular thing that they see the Tibetans and they see the Dalai Lama leadership as they promote the secessionism. Okay. Now here it has been provided that the Tibetans they are not wanting the complete separation from China, but they want autonomy. Now because of this particular thing, guys, whenever India supports Dalai Lama, that also becomes a controversial issue between India and China. However, nothing much important beyond this has been given in this particular article, so no need to go too much in detail. Then, guys, after that, moving on in city section, we have all these regional issues, etc., tenders, advertisements. So nothing much important has been given. Largely, again, these political advertisements, etc., are there. Then coming to the editorial section, G20 diplomacy and a shifting world order. We'll take this particular article for exam. Then expertise over politics. Now understand this particular thing, guys. What has happened recently, so basically, guys, when we talk about this particular, when we talk about the Cauvery water dispute, so there is a dispute going on, fine. And here, what has happened? Karnataka has been directed to release 5,000 cubic feet of water per second to Tamil Nadu till September 27. Okay. Now, understand this particular thing, guys. You are not really required to go and track that how much water was to be released, up to which date is to be released. Every particular order of the tribunal, etc., are not needed to required. However, water sharing is an issue, and that particular thing you should be knowing with respect to the constitutional provisions, etc., that are there. Okay. Then we have article here, children a key yet missed demographic in AI regulation. We'll take this particular article with respect to the examination. Then it's a long road to women's equality. We'll take this particular article also for the examination. Okay. Then 3-year ban against the Manipuri actor is uncalled for. Guys, again, nothing much important has been given in this particular article. Then moving on, over 60% of urban kids spend 3 hours daily on entertainment applications. So basically, guys, we see that since the pandemic, screen time of children has increased. First, online education came, but now a large number of children are using mobile phones for streaming, such as um, for using the OTT platforms such as the Prime Video, Netflix, etc. Then students are using it for playing video games. They're using it for the social media websites and all such kind of thing. Okay, so here it provides that large number of children, around 60% of them, are spending at least 3 hours daily on entertainment applications. Okay, which is leading to many a problem, such as which is leading to anxiety issues and all such concerns in the children. Then moving on in text and context, the Kaveri water conundrum. Okay, guys, again, I have read this entire article. For exam point of view, nothing important has been given. For example, on September 21, Supreme Court asked Karnataka to continue releasing 5,000 cusecs of water for 15 days. Then how the people has responded and all such things are there. Then what are the findings of parliamentary panel or NEP? We'll take this article. Then, guys, why the Northeast cannot be treated as a single homogeneous territory. So basically, guys, what has happened? There is this particular book that has been published. There is this book that has been published, Identity and Marginality in Northeast India, Challenges for Social Science Research. Okay. Now, article is analyzing the chapters of that particular book, and largely it is talking about on a very generic things that when we talk about Northeast India, it is often considered that it is one monolithic identity. But Northeast India is not one monolithic identity. There are many cultures, many cultures are there, many differences, ethnicities living there. And it is further talking about that the women, they have faced a lot of exploitations, women have faced a lot of crisis in that years to come. We need to have a better understanding of Northeast. Okay, then moving on, here we see this particular article. So yeah, Mr. S. Jaishankar, Minister of External Affairs, has met the United Nations Secretary General. Okay, and they have talked about the reform of global financial institution sustainability. Okay, so basically, just a meeting has happened. Now, when we talk about India, India for a very long period of time has been a big time supporter of reformed multilateral order. It talks about the reformed multilateral financial institutions, reformed United Nations system. Okay, now basically, guys, here what has happened, India has often kept this particular viewpoint forward that financial institutions should be reformed in such a way that it provides meaningful financing to the developing countries, as well as the developmental indicators should be given a more attention. So on that particular thing, a meeting has happened. However, guys, again, moving, the article doesn't contains any much specific substance. Okay, India is trying to become the voice of the global south, and for that particular thing, again, India has raised this particular matter. Then further moving on, guys, in this particular direction, center rebuffs Moody's Aadhaar report. Will take this particular article as what this report was and what issues have come. Then we have these political statements, etc. Nothing much important. 8 institutions give an array of reason for Joshimat sinking. Will take this particular article. Then further moving on, railway titan safety rules ask IRTC to arrange catering facility for private coaching. Because basically, guys, often it has been seen that when we talk about the railways, many number of a times, because of the many number of a times flammable items such as the gas cylinders, they have led to the accident. Okay, then moving on, after that, on world page, Philippines remove China's barrier in disputed shoal. Okay, then guys, here we come to the business page, but on business page we don't have much relevant article. Bank to attract more global investment, says S&P Global. Okay, so basically, the article is talking about that foreign investors now they are increasing their holding of Indian private lenders. Okay, moving on, just one thing I want to tell you guys here. See, when you read about the economy page or the business page, when we talk about it, we don't need to follow every article, every finding, every data that has come here. Only those articles which are important with respect to the Indian economy, or articles talking about the state of Indian economy, that we need to read. For example, for example, uh, Das warns against excessive dominance in bank board. Okay, fine. Now, my point is that, guys, every such statement, okay, that is being issued, every advisory that is being issued is not to be read for the exam. Okay, then moving on, we have the sports page, and after the sports page, in last, we have here science page. Okay, now, science page is talking about newly minted NRF has a chance to bridge India's science society gap. We'll take this particular article for examination. So this is, guys, overview of the newspaper. And now let's discuss relevant articles one by one, which are important for examination. Okay. So starting up. So every class we take a GS quotation, and idea of this quotation is to give you some substance that you can use in your GS paper as well as essay paper. So today we'll be taking the quotation from Martin Luther King Jr. He says, "Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education." Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. So character, okay, character, one's moral upliftment, one's ethical upliftment has to be very important component of education. Education which just focuses on inculcating the facts, that is not a complete education. Rather, education needs to bring reform in the character. And this particular thing has been emphasized from a very long period of time. For example, when the Kothari Commission came, when the 1968 education policy came, and when 1986 education policy of India came, they all have talked about the value based education. So education should be such which inculcates values and builds the character. That is the true goal of education. You can use this particular idea for GS paper number 2 education. You can use this particular idea for GS paper number 2 education, as well as this particular idea you can use for the GS paper number 4 ethics. Now let's take first article for today. Okay, what are the findings of the Parliament panel on NEP? NEP. So this particular article, first of all, we are going to use for GS paper number 2 issues related to education. GS paper number 2 issues related to education. Now, first of all, some basic background information will take. Now, guys, when we talk about NEP, NEP stands for National Education Policy, and it is India's third education policy that we are going to talk about. First education policy of India came in 1968. Then second education policy of India came in 1986. It got amended in 1992. And then third education policy came in 2020. Third education policy came in 2020. When we talk about the national education policy, this national education policy is actually divided in two parts. It talks about the reforms for school education and it talks about the reforms for the higher educational institutions. Now, what has happened recently, the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Education, Parliamentary Standing Committee on Education has placed the report in Parliament, which talks about that how far implementation of NEP has happened in the higher education sector. In the higher education sector, one thing I just want to tell you before we go in this particular article, that I have made a detailed video on National Education Policy 2022 when it got introduced. So on the channel, that video is there. If you want to prepare NEP in detail, you want to know all the dimensions of NEP 2020, you can refer to that particular video also. Now, moving on. So basically, guys, what this particular report has noted, this report has noted that when we talk about the higher education, large dominance of universities is of the state universities. Now, this report provides that there are around 1043 universities in India, and out of these universities, 70% are under the State Act. They are state universities. Okay. And when we talk about number of students, around 94% of students who are in the higher educational institutions, either they are studying in state universities or they are studying in private universities, private educational institution. Just 6% of the students who are in the higher educational institution, they are in the central higher educational institutions. So 94% of students are in state universities and private institutions, and more than private in the state universities. So it provides that states play a very important role. States play a very important role in providing higher education. So there is an important need that state needs to be given adequate finances so that they can function in that particular direction more effectively. Now, this particular panel has discussed some specific issues. It has discussed some specific issues. For example, rigid separation of disciplines. Rigid separation of disciplines. We see this particular thing, guys, that in higher education, there is a rigid separation between humanities, sciences, medicines. Okay. Now, that particular thing was said in 2020 is needed to be removed. Okay. Then, secondly, limited access to higher education in socio-economically disadvantaged area. So, there are many tribal areas, there are many backward areas where educational institutions are not there, functional colleges are not there, medical universities are not there. So, specific focus is needed to be given into them. Lack of higher educational institution that teach in local languages. Now, guys, since 2020, promotion of native languages, promotion of local languages, even in higher educational institution, has been focused upon. And in that particular capacity, even few of engineering colleges have started offering the engineering in the local languages. Okay, but still large number of educational institutions, they are not imparting instruction in local languages. Then there is the issue of limited number of faculty, institutional autonomy. Now, what is this institutional autonomy? Institutional autonomy means that an institution, colleges, universities should be given autonomy to decide their curriculum, decide their exam pattern. Also, they should be given flexibility to revise their curriculum to meet the need of the hour. So such autonomy is important, it should be given. Then there is less emphasis on research. Guys, when we talk about research, we invest just 0.7% of our GDP equivalent to research. And if India wants to become a $5 trillion economy in the near term, we need to spend at least 2.5% of our GDP on research. But as of now, we are just spending 0.7%, which is very much less. Then, ineffective regulatory system, low standards of undergraduate education. You know that employability of our youth is not. According to India Skill Report, just 43% of our graduate youth, they are employable. So point is that undergraduate education doesn't has a proper standard, very low standard education is being given. Moreover, this panel has also specified that we also need to improve the enrollment in higher education. When we talk about primary education, enrollment rates have reached to 100%, but in higher education, still the enrollment rate is 26.3% in 2018. It needs to be increased to at least 50% by 2035. By the way, one case study, Tamil Nadu already has enrollment of 52% in higher educational institutions. So Tamil Nadu should be a role model for us to follow. Then this particular panel, the parliamentary committee, it has also specifically gave some specific advices, some specific suggestions. And guys, when you are talking about the reform in education sector, you can directly mention them in your answer, that what needs to be done, and you can give the reference of this parliamentary committee. So they have given the references. For example, there needs to be suitable funds that are to be given for the education of socially and economically disadvantaged groups. For example, guys, when we talk about the women enrollment in higher education, it has been very much less. Then tribal groups are there, minorities are there. Their enrollment in education has been very much less, and they are socially and economically disadvantaged groups. Okay, also at the same time, so they needs to be emphasized. Secondly, we need to set clear targets for gross enrollment ratio for these socially and economically disadvantaged groups. So number one, there needs to be the objective studies that are to be made, that what is their present enrollment rate. We need to then take target that what, where we need to take it up, and then systemic then there should be systemic follow-ups should happen, that whether we are achieving the targets or not. Then after that, we need to enhance gender balance in admission to higher educational institutions. More women are to be brought in higher educational institution, providing more financial assistance and scholarships. Because many number of times, the socially and economically disadvantaged groups, okay, people from poor poor sections of the society, why they are not able to avail higher education? Because it is very expensive. So on that particular direction, specific financial assistance is to be given. And then admission process curriculum needs to be made more inclusive. It needs to be made more inclusive, so people from different religion, different caste, different ethnicities, different social background, all should be represented properly. Admission process needs to be made more inclusive. Then specifically article also talks about that focus of higher education is not only to impart the knowledge of facts, rather higher education should also focus on making youth more employable, making youth more employable. So employability potential should also be increased. So therefore, adequate skilling needs to be focused upon. After that, moreover, it also talks about developing the courses in regional languages. Developing the courses in regional languages and bilingual teaching should be there. And then specific focus has been made that students who are physically challenged, for them proper and adequate infrastructure should be there in educational institution. Many number of a times accessibility is a very big problem. Already government has started the Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan, accessible India campaign, but still many number of a times public buildings are not accessible, ramps are not there, lifts are not there. So the infrastructure should be made non-discriminatory. Infrastructure should be accommodative of the physically challenged students, and harassment of these students, okay, should also be ensured. Then moving on to next article. Okay, moreover, one more thing is that this parliamentary committee has also appreciated Jammu and Kashmir, because Jammu and Kashmir became the first which started implementing the National Education Policy 2020. So they have appreciated Jammu and Kashmir for the implementation of NEP. Also, they have specifically emphasized that HEFA, Higher Education Financial Financing Agency, its role needs to be reformed. Now, first of all, let's understand what is HEFA. So, HEFA was created as a dedicated body which will facilitate the funding for the higher educational institution. Higher educational institution need funding for multiple purposes, for their infrastructure upgradation, for uh, for um, for infrastructure upgradation, for further they need money for hiring the best talent, best faculties, for research purposes they need money, for the expansion of labs, etc. they need money. So HEFA will be a dedicated body which will ensure that funding is available to the higher educational institution, but it has not worked effectively properly as of now. And secondly, HEFA should not provide financing only to government institution, but also it should look forward that how even private sector organizations, philanthropic foundations which are providing education, even to them, how it can provide funding. So this is guys all about it. And then this particular panel has also talked about multiple entry and multiple exit system. Now, what is this multiple entry and multiple exit system in higher educational institution? So basically what happened, National Education Policy 2020, it provided, for example, I took admission in BCom course in first year. What can happen after completing 1 year in BCom? I can drop, I can take an exit, and I can take an admission in the architecture course. I may take admission in law course, or I might take admission into the Bachelor of Computer Application BCA course. I will do 1 year, then I will drop, and then I will enroll in some other course. Okay, so let's say 1 year I did in commerce, then 1 year I did in law, then 1 year I did in computers. So what has happened? I will be given credit for every 1 year or 2 year that I am completing in a particular kind of a course. So it has been provided that every institution should allow multiple entry and multiple exit, multiple entry and multiple exit. If you see earlier system, if I have done 12th standard, I completed 1 year of my BCom and then I dropped, I would be deemed as only 12th pass. That 1 year will not be recognized. But now National Education Policy 2020 has changed all this particular thing. It says that you can complete 1 year or 2 year in one particular type of a degree. You can drop out, can join other degree. All these particular years that you are spending will be counted. Okay, so there will be multiple entry and multiple exit system that is there. That is there. Okay. Now there is going to be the challenge. There is going to be the challenge. There is going to be a challenge. Why the challenge is there? Because see, in Western countries it has worked effectively because population is not that much. But see, every institution has a very limited number of seats. Okay, if multiple entry and multiple exit will be installed, institutions will not be able to know that how many students will drop, how many students will join in the next year. So that will bring a lot of uncertainty. That will bring a lot of uncertainty. Okay. Moving on to next article, newly minted NRF has a chance to bridge India's science society gap. Now, this particular article we have taken from the science page. Now, let's talk about this particular article. So, this particular article, by the way, we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 2, again issues related to education. Okay. Now, first of all, before going on in this article, let's talk about some basic information. According to Niti Aayog, According to Niti Aayog, India just spends 0.7% of its GDP equivalent in research and development. And according to Niti Aayog, if we want to become a $5 trillion economy in the near term, we need to spend at least 2.5% of our GDP on research and development. Right now, we are just spending 0.7%. Now, what has happened in order to mobilize the investment in research and development? Recently, government has come out with a dedicated body, that is NRF, National Research Foundation. National Research Foundation. It has been cleared already by the Union Cabinet, and if you are following the newspaper analysis regularly, around the month of June and July, I think at least 12 to 13 articles I have taken on NRF. Now, when we talk about NRF, NRF has been given a budget of 50,000 crore rupees over 5 years. So 50,000 crore rupees over the next 5 years will be mobilized in the research and development, and it will support all the aspects of R&D. For example, it will boost research, innovation. How? By providing more funding. Further, it will also streamline the research funding processes. Right now, to avail the funding is a very tedious process, very time consuming process. So these processes will also be streamlined. Okay, and then there will be the linkages between the academia, industry, society, and government that will also be facilitated. Is it clear or not? Moreover, guys, as we talk about this particular program, this particular platform, National Research Foundation, it will also mobilize the funding from the private sector. It will also mobilize the funding from the private sector. Okay, so around just telling you, goal is 50,000 crore rupees are to be mobilized. Out of that, 14,000 crore rupees exactly will be given by government, and 36,000 crore rupees, around 72% will be mobilized by the private sector. 36,000 crore rupees will be brought by the private sector. Now, this particular thing has been there, that in developed countries, private sector also invests a large invest also a large amount of money in R&D, but in India it has not happened. So that thing will also be emphasized. Now, this particular article is talking about that after this announcement has been made, scientists, they are taking up this particular thing, that how NRF should fund the research. Okay, now there are different kind of viewpoints that have been developed. One viewpoint that has developed is that scientific advancements, they are often unexpected. Scientific advancements are often unexpected. We don't know what particular advancement will come after 2 years or after 3 years, what will become relevant. So we cannot predict it in advance that NRF should invest here or should invest here. Science is often unpredictable. So we should not have any mandate that where NRF should focus on investment. On another hand, it has also been highlighted that on other hand, the scientific, the academician, the scholar, they are saying this particular thing, that we need to focus on forging ties between academic scholars and other key players between in the science, technology, and innovation system. So different viewpoints have come that how that particular thing is to be taken up. Okay, so this is all which has been provided in this particular article. However, one particular thing is there, that as NRF, National Research Foundation, has come, it gives a much needed opportunity to the country. We have not been able to scale on R&D on so many of the years, and because of that particular thing, we have suffered a lot. Now it is a time that with the NRF we can take that particular thing. Okay, moving on in this particular direction. Okay, there are some doubts. Uh, let's take that. Sir, I'm living in Patel Nagar. I want to meet you when you will come. Sir, how? Okay, guys, you can just send me a message on Telegram, whosoever want to reach me. You can go on Telegram and can search by typing @Sahil Thinking Palette. So by Sahil Thinking Palette, you will find me and you can send me the message and there will coordinate. Okay. Sir, please make one full video, important current affairs before prelims, mains exam. Dear, I will try to do that. If time permits, we'll try. Sir, should we read the newspaper after which watching your video? See, it depends. And that just one thing I want to tell you, that when we are taking up article, all the dimensions that are there in article as well as additional background, we are taking it up here. Okay, if you are reading synoptic notes, then there is no need to read that article. Okay. However, see, you are comfortable where it is. Children, a key missed demographic in AI regulation. Now, this particular article, guys, will take up with respect to the GS paper number 2, children related issues. Now, what this particular article is actually talking about? So, article is talking about that, see, two things. First of all, artificial intelligence nowadays has become a very important development in every field. Artificial intelligence is being seen. How artificial intelligence is going to impact children, that is something which has not been discussed as of now. India is leading on AI front. How India is leading on AI front? Recently, what has happened? India is going to host Global Summit on Artificial Intelligence, which will be hosted this October. Okay, As well as India is also the chair of Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence. And India will host the GPAI, that is Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence Summit in the month of December. So, in this particular year, December and October, there are two important developments on AI that are going to be held. So, India is clearly playing a leadership role on AI front. India is clearly leading on AI front. So, therefore, article is talking about this particular thing, that India specifically need to focus on how children are getting impacted by AI. By the way, when we talk about AI is going to contribute richly in India's economy. According to multiple reports, it has been provided that when we talk about AI can add around $500 billion to India's economy by 2025. And this $500 billion will be equivalent to 10% of the country's target GDP. Moreover, also Prime Minister has emphasized that we also need to come out with the ethical expansion of AI, the framework on ethical expansion of AI. As AI is expanding, many number of a times AI has led to a lot of unethical problems. For example, it is said that even in AI there are prejudices, even in AI there are biases. Often AI might be used in such a way that it will displace millions and millions of people out of their job. So expansion of AI should happen, but that expansion of AI should be the ethical it should be the ethical expansion. For that particular thing, there is a need of the global framework on ethical expansion of AI. This also has been put forward by Prime Minister. Then, further moving on, guys, article talks about this particular thing, that when we talk about AI, often AI might have a negative implication on the children. How it might have a negative implication? For example, guys, today ad campaigns, they are being designed by the help of AI. There is particularly generative AI, which can design pictures, which can design images, and they are being used today in the advertising campaign. Now, today, these AI platforms, what they can do, they can create the dark patterns. They can create the dark patterns to exploit. They can create the dark patterns to exploit young people. Now, for example, guys, targeted advertisements on young children can be created in such a way that it might lure them, it might attract them. Okay, and even many distortive kind of ads through the AI can be created, which might have impact on the young children. Secondly, today as AI has come, we find that these deep fakes have become a very problematic thing. What is a deep fake? Deep fake is a synthetic media. Okay, it is a doctored media. Fine. So today with the AI, these deep fake videos, they have also become very much realistic. And what can happen? What can happen by this particular thing? Again, on children, there can be the targeted attacks that can be made. How? See this particular thing. Nowadays, we see that there is emergence of these enthusiastic sharents. Now, what is this sharent? Sharent means those parents who share every development of their child on the social media. Nowadays, you are seeing that parents, what they do, they just make videos and photographs of their children and they are posting it constantly on Instagram, on WhatsApp statuses, everywhere. Now they don't realize this particular thing, guys, that there are some unethical actors. What they can do, they can take these pictures and videos and can make morph by using the artificial intelligence, by using the deep fake capabilities. They can make morph videos and can use those particular, can circulate those particular videos for wrong purposes. Okay, so what can be done, by using these pictures? Sexually explicit content can be made and it can be distributed online. Okay, so this is something that can impact the children. New technologies, AI can impact children. So therefore, article is talking about that we will be coming with the Digital India Act. And in Digital India Act, particularly we need to talk about that how children can be saved, how children's interest can be saved with the emerging AI, with the emerging internet technologies, etc. Now, it has given certain recommendations here, and we'll see these particular recommendations one by one. Now, what recommendations have been given? Number one recommendation it has given is that what India can do. India can India can take the guidance from UNICEF. India can take the guidance from the UNICEF with respect to the artificial intelligence's development. Now, guys, what has happened recently? UNICEF has come out with the 9-step parameters for child-centered AI. for child-centered AI. Now, what is this 9-step parameters? Let's understand this particular thing. So, UNICEF provides that any AI, artificial intelligence intervention that is being taken up, it needs to promote child well-being, it needs to promote inclusion, fairness, non-discrimination, safety, transparency. These are the 9-step parameter that has been suggested by UNICEF. And this largely draws from United Nations Convention on the Rights of Child. So as India is coming out with the Digital India Act, it needs to specifically provide that AI should keep these 9 priorities in mind while dealing with the children. Okay, this is one. This is one. Then moving on to the next. Further, it provides this particular thing that what has happened. Now, see, internet technologies, AI. When we talk about internet technologies, when we talk about AI, it will have the different impact on the different age group of children, different age group of children. So basically, we need not to have one standard of AI for the children, but for different age group of children, we need to have different standards. In this particular capacity, there is California's Age Appropriate Design Code Act. California's Age Appropriate Design Code Act. Now, what it provides? It provides that digital services, fine, data collection that is happening, or AI that are being used, they should be used in such a way, okay, advertising systems, AI should be used in such a way that they should not harm children, okay. There should also be a clear age appropriate language. Okay, there should also be the clear age appropriate languages that are to be used in advertising so that the children are not the recipients of such kind of a language which might not be congenial for their tender age. So, age appropriate standards have been suggested by the California's Age Appropriate Design Code Act. India also, India also should come out with the Indian Age Appropriate Design Code for AI. Okay. Then after that, article talks about that there also needs to be the mechanisms for the regular dialogue with the children. So basically, children between the age of 13 to 24, there should be a platform in which we can hold the dialogues with the children so that we can understand that how they are getting impacted with AI. What, see, you need to understand that from a particular person's point of view, we need to know the things. So platform should be there where the children can be engaged and they point out that in what capacities AI could be reformed. And finally, the article talks about that as AI